Yo, what up, YouTube? Knowledge of self-determination. So, I wanted to do this video here because something I wanted to talk about. Actually, this is a thought that I just came into. Kind of had an epiphany almost, you could say. Thinking about the black situation, we have a lot of black people out here in the world who, for some reason or another, seem to actually hate black people. They do not seem to be working in the interest of black people. Instead, they seem to be working alongside white supremacy to stifle whatever it is that we're actually trying to accomplish. I'm not going to say I just may say some names because fuck it. I got a small channel. Like the old Chinese proverb once said, or still says actually, the nail that sits up the highest is always the one to get hit first or hammered first. My channel isn't really on the spotlight like that. I'm still under the radar to a degree. I'm no fool. I know anybody who's talking a certain way on the interwebs is being monitored to some degree, without a doubt. But in any event, so I was thinking, right? Like, what is it that makes some black people willing to sell out the entire race, the entire movement, just for a paycheck, just so they can go on to CNN and MSNBC and Fox and spew their nonsensical rhetoric? And I started thinking about this because here's the thing that you guys should keep in mind. Any person at any of these major white supremacist media outlets, any one of these outlets that has a black person on there more than once, I would even say more than twice, that person has their hand in a white man's pocket or white supremacy's pocket. Because, once again, corporate America pretty much runs, controls, and owns America. And if that shit actually makes it to national mainstream media, corporate America signed off on it. And we know that corporate America is full of white supremacists. Any black person who goes on national news in this country, or the white supremacist media, period, and speaks out against black people, ancestors, those who are our contemporaries now, who speaks out against them and tries to defame them and discredit them, they are agents. You understand what I'm saying? They're agents. So I'm thinking about this, right? What makes people like this turn against their own people so easily and just for a couple of dollars? One, of course, is greed, of course, and our plight does kind of seem hopeless sometimes. And some people just say, you know what? Fuck it. Niggas ain't going to get it anyway. They ain't learned in 400 motherfucking years, so fuck it. Why shouldn't I take this money? These motherfuckers ain't going to get it. And I can understand that perspective. Doesn't mean that I agree with it or that I would go that route myself, but I understand. It's easier to give in as opposed to stand in the ring and fight. Look at Amir Khan with Terrence Crawford. It's easier to sit down in the corner and say, you know what, I'm good, I quit, as opposed to seeing the fight through to his end. But thinking about this, look at the nature of people. When a person's in elementary school and things like that, by the time you hit elementary school, your personality, who you are, is definitely starting to blossom. But once you start interacting with other people outside of your family, people in your peer group, other adults and things like that, it starts to shape more of who you are. You start to kind of bend and fold to fit into those circles and those circumstances. But at your core, you are who you are. Like, for instance, myself, I was the type of kid who would, without a second thought, would jump in and save a weaker kid from being beat up or bullied by a bully. Now, mind you, that shit didn't always go in my favor, and I caught plenty of ass whippings stepping into that shit. But I wasn't afraid. You know, it was one of those things where it's part of my character, you know. To step up and say something, to step up and do something, as opposed to just sitting back saying, what are they going to do? I've always been that type of person. And those types of things, those core things about yourself don't change. You know, some people are just bullies. Some people are just assholes. You understand? And sometimes that mentality has been ingrained into them, you know, from a very early age because of their own trials and tribulations or whatever. But again, who people are is down to their core. You understand? Some people are just built to quit, to give up, to want to sell out. Some people are just made for that shit. And there's nothing that can be done about these individuals. Some people are just pussy at heart. Some motherfuckers are just going to snitch. They always have snitch and they always will snitch. I was the type of kid, I never ratted anybody out for shit. If I got caught or in trouble for something, I took my L. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it, yeah, I did it. Or whatever. Whatever the case may be. But I never made it a point to rat anybody else out or have other people, you know, go down with me. It just was never part of my character, you know. I mean, how many of you out there can actually say, when you see another kid drowning in a pool that you don't know, before you even had time to think about the situation, you jumped in the pool to save that kid that was drowning? Because that's the type of shit that I used to do when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't even swim that well myself. Didn't even know how to lifeguard or save a drowning motherfucker. But I did it. You know what I'm saying? Bravery or courage is not acting in spite of fear. Or rather, let me say that again. Courage is not acting with the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. And that's something that I learned about myself as a kid. I'm very courageous. I'm not an idiot, but I am courageous, you know, and I take after all of the ancestors of ours that stood up in the face of fucking white supremacy and said no more, whether it was Malcolm, whether it was Martin, whether it was Huey, whether it was Medgar, whether it was Fred, you understand? Any of these brothers, you know, any of these sisters, you know, I was the type, I was of that Black Panther mindset. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do for ours. We gotta protect our own. But I don't seem to run into too many black people who have that same state of mind as myself. You know, who will jump in that pool without thinking to pull your black ass out of it, without even thinking of the consequences to himself. I'm saying all this to say, a lot of black people who grew up in black neighborhoods, most of us, all of us, 9 times out of 10 grew up in the projects too. See, these are people who were probably bullied and picked on. Dudes who weren't popular with the girls, or girls who weren't popular with the boys, who used to be mistreated by their own circle, you know, get mistreated by their own circle and shit. And they developed a resentment, animosity towards black people because of how they were treated or mistreated. Most people get made fun of. Most people get cracked on. Most people get picked on, you know. Some people hold on to that shit. And that shit develop. It sits, it festers, and it boils over, you know, and it rots and it corrodes and it turns into, your fear turns into anger, which ultimately turns into hate, which ultimately turns into you as a teenager and an adult doing everything you can to get the fuck away from the individuals who caused you so much grief and pain in your life. And I understand that too. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood where if you actually used a word in the correct in the correct context, you could be made fun of. You know what I'm saying? Look, that motherfucker said, who was it? That motherfucker said, damn, I'm trying to think of the word because I'm talking about myself now. I'm a bit tired, so pardon me. Effective, yeah. Oh, this motherfucker said effective. It was effective. You know what I'm saying? He laughing, everybody else laughing. I'm the only one that didn't get the joke because I'm like, well, because it was effective. You know, I'm in junior high school at this point. I used the word. A word that most of the motherfuckers don't ever use. And it's not even a big word, but it wasn't a word these motherfuckers use. You know what I'm saying? But You get what I'm saying, right? You get made fun of for being smart. You get made fun of for, being a kid who only came out on the weekends because you were doing your fucking homework and studying throughout the week. You know what I'm saying? You get made fun of for using words correctly in the correct context, using the correct grammatical syntax. Because even if you say certain words in your own accent without trying to sound real high pitched and nasally like white people, you can still be called a person who's acting white simply because you're actually utilizing your intelligence. And to this day, I don't hate black people. I don't hate where I come from. I want to do all I can to help my people move forward into the future, so that we can extinguish this eternal enemy of ours called white supremacy, which, if you really get down to the brass tacks of it, is just self-hatred at the end of the day. But I'm not going to get into that right now. But I'm just thinking about that. These people have always been these types of people. They were disappointed by a parent, by a fault, by a loved one, by a relative, by a friend that was close to them. They were hurt somehow, some way, and now all black people have to pay for it. For instance, if you are a black woman who has taken it upon yourself to single-handedly try to systematically destroy the lives of prominent black men, and only them, sure, something happened to you. You're angry or upset with black men for some fucking reason, and you're taking it out on all black men. You've eternalized it, and now all black men are your enemy, and you're trying to do whatever you can, because serving white supremacy for their purposes doesn't hurt you. You hate black men, they hate black men too. They hate black people, but they'll tell you that they hate black men and pay you handsomely to forget about the fact that you probably shouldn't be destroying your own people. Go ahead and feed your own rage, your own self-hate. Go ahead and feed that inner child. And that's the point that I want to get to. Most adults, I would say 95%, I'll give humanity more of a benefit of the doubt of that. I'll say 90% of the humans on the planet, but let's just localize it to America, since I'm American, speaking from an American point of view. 90% of Americans, 95% of Americans, I would say are children wrapped up in grown-up bodies. Most people are still battling the demons of their childhood. They have grown out. They haven't really grown up. And when I say grown up, they haven't grown in wisdom or maturity. They may have learned new skills and tactics that they assimilate to feed their own selfish ends, but they haven't matured. There's tons of shit that happened to me as a kid, you know what I'm saying, that I'm not going to get into during this video because it would just take too fucking long to unpack. But I don't hate anybody. I've gotten past that shit, you understand? Even though I would have wished that most of the things that happened to me didn't, they helped make me who I am. And I can't change that because I am at peace with who I am. I know who I am. You understand? I know what I stand for. That's why my channel was called Knowledge of Self-Determination. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one of the most important things of life. Knowledge of self and knowledge of self-determination. I'm a very self-determined person, self-motivating. You know what I'm saying? No matter how dim the light may get, I always have the fortitude to brighten that motherfucker back up again. You dig? But that's the real problem. That's the real thing. Most people are still children. You understand what I'm saying? Because adults can look past or look at a situation, deal with it, handle it mentally, accept it, and take whatever lessons there are to be taken from that, assimilate it, and move forward as a better person. This is how I was treated. This is what happened to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want this to happen to other people. So what can I do to prevent this from happening to other people? What can I say? What can I teach other people? How can I bring up my children so that they don't suffer the same shit that I suffered? You understand? I just wanted to give some food for thought. on this particular issue, which I think will be the name of the video now, food for thought. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. But that's what I really think, though. You know, the leaders of the ADOS movement, Tone and Yvette, and you know, you got what was it to do with Van Wilson, who came out and trashed the ancestor, Francis Cress Wilson, and then you have who else? Who else is it? I can't think of the names right now. Like I said, it's late, but it's quite a few of them who are actually out there on that shit. You know, these are people who are angry from their childhood. Listen to Tone and Yvette. They sound like angry children. But I'll continue this more in another video. I don't want to make this too long, but leave it in the comment section. I'll let your boy. Peace.